That's right. You guys, it's 9 o'clock and I've already lost control of the meeting. Holy cow. I never had it to begin with. Well, I'm starting, listen to your own saying, Thomas. All right, it is 9 o'clock and we'll call the finance committee to order. And Becky, would you do the roll, please?
I sure will. Jim Sheeline.
Here.
Nancy Nealer.
Present.
Tom Kitson.
Present.
Mike Book. Reed Acree.
Here.
Jason Anderson.
Aye.
Tom Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Charlie, do you got anything for us?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Wow. Clay. Report was riveting as always. The one question I had was the guy ran off, he crashed the car on Bloody Gulch Road, and did we ever find him? Did he ever?
We did not find him yet. However, we processed the car. So if he's in POTUS DNA, we might have an arrest warrant for him down the road.
Interesting. Yeah. It's
Near our houses.
always, you never, when you live a sheltered life as I do, you never understand that these things are going on.
Are riveting.
They are. I appreciate those. They'll really enjoy getting those from you. So, Reed.
Nothing other than on the agenda.
Yeah, David. All right.
Nothing.
Very good. Good. Good, Michael. Oh, come on, Amy. You always have something. So how's the update continues to go well?
Yes, Tyler has been in our office the last couple of weeks, going over some business processes, testing things out. We're kind of in a test stage right now in their environment to see how other things are working. There's hiccups here and there, but we're fixing them. So we're moving
Sure.
along.
As far as, are you far enough along to kind of get the feel, this is working out to your expectations or?
Yes and no. Change is hard for people. But
Yeah.
it's inevitable. So you gotta, it might not be exactly the same what we're doing now, just a couple different steps, but we're trying to make it that way, make
Gotcha.
it transition easier.
Well, good luck with
So
that.
that's why we're testing, that's very important. It's not just myself, Shannon, my office are testing all different things. That's where we're at.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy? Anything?
Not until we get to the agenda.
All right, very good. All right. We've got everybody have a chance to look at the minutes. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Anderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Treasurer's monthly financial report. Read. Walk us through those.
Yep, and then just a reminder, this is the quarterly ones, so we will sign off on these. From the general fund perspective, kind of right on target, maybe running a little hot. I would say that is probably consistent with most years around this time. We do have our liability insurance that comes out usually either in the first or second month of the year. That is a pretty substantial payment, $700,000, $750,000 this year. So I think where we're at from the general fund side of things is pretty consistent. We should have 75% of the budget remaining. We've got 74% of our appropriated expenditures. So we're pretty close.
Okay. Any questions or?
Yeah, I was just saying,
No, go ahead.
any questions on the general fund or kind of where we're at from revenues and expense side when we talk more about revenues when we get to the revenue sheet?
Any questions for Reed at this point? Okay, go ahead, Reed.
Yep. Jump over to the the tax revenue. Again, sales tax numbers continue to come in pretty strong. Not that we can see it from this report, but we do have numbers for the upcoming month. Just came out like yesterday. TPRT, that's the one we're always watching, right? I wouldn't say that it definitely turned lower but lower in a sense where it was just consistent with what we got last year. So again, for the year, we're still up a decent amount. We'll continue to watch that one going forward. But yeah, our sales tax numbers continue to come in strong.
It would be interesting to know why, because it's got that, PPRT has always been that way. You have these months where you can have, for us, we can have $110,000 of revenue, check from them, and the next one is 20,000.
Yeah,
It just,
so-
it's those huge swings and you're like, why?
What is really, what is very interesting, right? So the month that we just received, that's not in this report, but it is for, I believe, 2 months. Yeah, January and February, and it was $40,000 or something, so like, but then other months were 105 for December.
Exactly.
I don't know exactly how they're calculating it and whatnot, but what I do know is that that is the pool of money that seems to be anytime there's a statute out there that talks about reimbursing us for something that the state would like us to do, right? That seems to be the pool of money where it comes from that they'll say that they'll pay for it with, right?
Right.
But really, what you have to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, because that's going to kind of come out of the lump sum that we get. We're just getting it in a different bucket, and it has to be used on a, right now it can be used as general fund money, right? But when they start using it in terms of statutes to be reimbursed to us, now it has a restriction to it, right? If it, there's talk of elected officials and pegging wages to, I don't think there's anything like super long in terms of legislation or anything like that, but just talk where they would peg a percentage of the state's attorney salary, because the state sets the state's attorney salary. All of that language in there is to reimburse those funds to the county through PPRT. And so now it has to be used on their wages, where before we were getting it as general fund money. So
Sure.
it's every time they do that, they make it just a little bit harder.
Yep. Well, and to be fair, I mean, my township days, these swings were that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
And so it's nothing new. Man, it's not specific to us. So anyway, it's just weird.
Yeah. But again, our sales tax, I think, is, continuing coming in strong, keeping us in a good position. Public safety tax as well. I mean, all of them are coming in above our estimated amount. Use tax, I know that one's kind of, we have it on the report because we list out kind of the major revenue sources, right? Well, that one's maybe not all that major anymore. But at least it is somewhat trending in a better position than where we were towards the middle of the year last year. I think it's, hovering around or averaging around 10,000 a month, opposed to, some of those months in FY25 were $6,000. So it's good to see that those are still coming up. We just got the information for next month, and it came in at 11,600. So up more. So again, it doesn't really impact the financials all that much since it's been lowered so much, but good to see that it is still coming in a little stronger.
All right. Thanks, Reed. Committee have any questions for Reed
I
this
do.
time? Jason, go ahead.
Under the expenses on the treasurer's report, on the treasurer, it's a pretty significant increase from the prior year, 93 something for last year and 125,000. Is there one specific thing that you're aware of that the treasurer's office expenses that much more?
I know there's another position in the treasurer's office that would not have been in there last year.
Okay.
that we filled a position.
Got it.
That would be one thing. I can look into it further to see if there's anything else that sticks out.
That's just the one thing that seemed to be
One second.
quite a bit higher than last year. Yeah, if there was an added person, that would explain it.
I have if you give me a second, I have a report that details it all out. I guess one of the things that's sticking out here, well, two things. One is the health insurance increase that we experienced. So not only is there another salary, there's more health insurance. Health insurance went up 13.5%, 14% last year. So that's part of it. Software and licensing, that is also up. That is equipment or, excuse me, new modules within our software that we are in the process of implementing. One is our timekeeping system. So everyone will be able to basically put their time in either through their computer or their phone. It will be, once that, the individual approves their time, it will go to their supervisor to approve, and then we'll go directly into our accounting system.
And that would apply to all departments, right? Because that applies to everybody.
Yeah, we're kind of implementing it slowly, like department by department, kind of going through it for a few pay cycles to make sure that there's no bugs. And right now we have, I think, 2 or 3 departments that have gone through it for a few weeks. I'm one of the people entering my time and getting it approved by someone else, but I'm also someone who's taking that information and getting it into the accounting software. And our process currently is that we get timesheets from departments that have everybody listed, and we go to each spreadsheet. There's 20 different spreadsheets that we get every 2 weeks, and go to that spreadsheet, upload it into the system, get the next one, upload it into the system, where now we kind of go out to the website that kind of where all of this stuff is tracked, like My Viewpoint for claims, for those that are on the claims committee and know, it's one click and all the time goes into our system automatically. It takes 2 seconds. So not only, I think, is it going to be a time saving, it's going to improve documentation of approved time. So it'll help.
No, it's a good investment.
With grant audits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's one piece. The other piece is budget module. So when we get ready for our budget season, right, I grab all of the information for the year so far, plus previous years, put it into a really, really big spreadsheet, and then break it out and give it to each one of the department heads for them to upload or put their information. They got to give it back to me. And then I have to take all of those 20 different spreadsheets and put them all back together, right? So that we can start reviewing it here. This will be a system within My Viewpoint. Again, so like claims committee would be familiar with it, where kind of like claims, it pulls all of that information from our accounting system in there automatically. We set up the department's accounts that they need to budget for and send them all off very easily with like a click of the button. As soon as we got them all set up correctly, department heads put all their information in there and approve it back. All
So
of it
these
gets-
things, these software, and I brought this up, I think, last month, is
Yeah.
all the investment in all the technology, the software, there are savings involved. There's time, there's.
Yeah, so I've looked at, this does not have all the bells and whistles of budget softwares out there, but other, like the implementation cost, I think was maybe around $2,000 for this particular module, where that was a one-time fee. And then it was $600 going forward.
Here.
Whereas other budget softwares, the cheapest one that I saw, that I had several conversations with them, was $20,000 a year. So, you know, that one did have more of the bells and whistles, but I think this one does 75% of what that one does, and is significantly cheaper. But so, sorry, long way to
That's
say,
fine.
software
That
costs
explains that.
are some payments that we've made in.
I guess, do you see that the treasurer's budget is going to be way over budget come the end of the year?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
those are all one-time.
Right. I mean, we're only in
Yep.
March.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anything else for Reed? Okay, it is the quarterly report. I know you guys signed off on the paperwork, but I entertain a motion to approve the quarterly treasurer's report. Moved by Acree, second by Wilson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. All right, before we get to insurance report, Stacy, you stepped out. Did you have anything for us?
Sure. The only thing that I'd like to mention is that we have a presentation that's going to be done on Thursday, April 9th, over at the Dixon Theater. Jerome Galloway is a presenter that we have heard several times at a national level, at the National Drug Court Conference and at the Illinois Probation and Solving Courts Conference. He is going to be here locally to present on drug trends. So we're looking forward to having him here. I believe an email went out to all of the county board officials, so we hope to see you there as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy.
All right.
Insurance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My wonderful job of reporting on the Insurance Committee meeting, which met, the last quarterly meeting was this past Tuesday. We met here in the courthouse. As most of you already know, it's been our standard protocol in the health insurance department of the employees to review the plan every 5 years. And this is the year it comes up to start review. Jeremy has informed us that he has started the process by sending out some RFPs for several different companies to see what we can get back as far as competitive pricing, this, that, and the other. Could be good, could be not, we don't know, but we have started the process. It's imperative that we do that because about the end of July, we will have to make a decision, and that's going to happen quicker rather than later. And that decision will have a financial impact on us, I'm sure. Susan has also been in communication with IBPC, the pool that we work with. They are having changes going on in their organization. They really won't affect us, but Susan's been very adamant about knowing what's going on. So it helps her job, it helps us, and it keeps us informed in the loop. So she currently knows a few things that she shared with us that really don't have an impact right now, but she will come back. I think they're going to make their decision on March 19th, sometime coming up next week. And then she'll have a little bit more to tell us about that. It could be that our IBPC group will roll into another group that really performs the same function. So literally has a very little effect on us. It's just a very good thing that we know. The insurance company the insurance committee decided to meet more often as we navigate through the process of the renewal because we've had not really great news that our projections are really high this year. So we decided to make sure that we make changes in the right direction by having these meetings and really doing our due diligence. This is the time of the year that we get the rate projection for next year. And unfortunately, we have another double-digit increase in our costs for next year. Our rates next year will be 27.7% higher than they were last year. Last year's rate increase was almost 14%, 13.7. So that's really, in effect, double of last year's rate increase. We Reed also threw in some information that he and Susan had talked about, but some of the reason for this is our higher claims. There's a lot of reasons, probably most that we won't know specifically, but higher insurance claims are a factor. The insurance companies' rates are rising. If you look at your own home insurance and car insurance, we see that. So insurance rates are rising as well as medical providers' costs are rising. So everything is rising, unfortunately, and we're going to have to figure that out into our budget as we work our way into the next year's budget. So we'll continue to work through this process. One other note, our reserve fund with IBPC has fallen below its required amount. So we are going to need to refuel that fund. And I've asked Reed to briefly explain this. He has a very eloquent way of explaining how this works, and I think you way more appreciate his explanation than mine. Reed?
Sure. Okay, so first, we have essentially two, they call them reserve funds. One is the benefit fund that they keep track of for us. If you go out to IPBC's financial statements, they actually list these out individually in kind of the supporting schedules. So you can go out and grab a copy if you want to see the activity and whatnot, but they list it out for each one of their members. So you can even see Lee County's line items. So there's two funds. One they call the benefit fund in that report, and one they call the terminal fund. The benefit fund is kind of like the accumulation over all of the years that we have been with IPBC of our premiums and our claims. So we have in the past at some point in times had a surplus of premiums paid over our claims and expenses. So they track that in that particular account. The other is the terminal fund, which we contribute to if needed. So those two funds added together are what they say we need to keep, that makes up that reserve that we have to have with them. In the past, we have been in a position where our premiums have been more than our claims. So our reserve requirement was basically met by that benefit fund. Now that we've kind of switched to that, right, where our claims and expenses are more than our premiums that we're paying, that benefit fund has basically been depleted. So we have to make up to get to that 2 months of reserve through adding to the terminal fund. The terminal fund is our money, and it is always our money. If we were to leave IPBC tomorrow, in a sense, they would cut us a check for the balance of that fund back to us. Now, if you think of it kind of like a security deposit on rent, well, that's not really how it ever works in practice, right? Like they would use that terminal fund to pay off any remaining claims and whatnot, and then we would get the remaining.
Kind of like an HSA?
I guess I don't know if I would use it in this particular context, right? Because they can't really do anything per se with this money. Again, it's ours. They actually invest it on our behalf and earn income off of it. So just for example, looking at their last year's financial statements, our terminal fund balance, which I believe the last time we contributed to it was in 2024, not long after I started, we contributed roughly $39,000, I believe it was, to that terminal fund. At the beginning of IPBC's fiscal year, they're July 1 to June 30. We had a balance of $98,000. They actually had like $38,000 of income where they had invested everybody's terminal fund, and our portion that we got was $38,000. So actually our terminal balance as of June 30th, 2025 was $138,000. But since we need to contribute to it this year, which it's a pretty substantial balance, mostly because our benefit fund has been decreased to zero, we need to basically contribute $240,000 to that terminal fund. I would also say that we had not accounted necessarily for that correctly over the years. I don't think it was probably all that material up until recently, right, when we're going to have to be contributing that amount. But we we said we should essentially have on our books a receivable for the balance of that terminal fund. So what is, we had a conversation with IPBC and they provided a little more information about what this was when we got the notification that we were going to need to pay into it. But actually, we need to book an entry for income in FY25 to capture the $138,000 that they have on our behalf. But so I guess all that to say, from a budgetary standpoint, this payment that we may need to make does not affect the budget. It is a balance sheet only transaction where we're going to give them some money, but we are going to put a receivable back on our books for them to give it back to us at some point in time. So did I do good enough job?
Any questions?
Any questions on that?
Any questions for Reed on that? Thank you, Reed. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Could have not done that so well. So that is all I have to report at this point. We will have other meetings coming up that will have information coming out of. There was no wellness committee this month, so Sarah will report next month. They have a meeting on next Tuesday. But I will say the wellness committee is doing a fabulous job with the things that they're doing for our employees and really helping out with their wellness, and hopefully that will help our claims as well, people staying well, things like that. And it's also helping the culture of the employee group, and that makes a lot. So Sarah and her team are doing a great job. I'm happy to take questions if you have any. If I can answer them, I'll be happy to.
Any questions? You can see why I was a little bit down in the mouth when I called on Nancy. Poor Nancy was the bearer of the bad
Well,
news.
yeah.
So-
We want to make sure our employees are taken well care of like they have been, and
Now, the
take care of their health,
27%
but it's-
increase that's
Mhm.
baked in, and
Mhm.
that's what we're going to have to deal with in this
not-
next year's budget.
if we stay with this policy, with this company, with everything, yes.
And that's a combination of the increase from Blue Cross Blue Shield and from IPPC? Is that a
Jeremy, can you-
conglomeration?
Attest to that? The 27.7% increase is across the board. It's the combination of both IPBC and the insurance rates,
Yeah,
right?
That
That's
is
my
that is
understanding.
Insurance, the projected insurance increase.
Yeah,
Correct.
so that would be the,
And I do believe it's 23.7%, but I could be wrong.
well,
but-
that would even make it better.
Yeah, not much,
Not much.
not much.
Okay.
Well, I do know that at least in our business, we're seeing, and we've had to change firms this year just because of crazy high rates this year. And then my wife's also, so
Mhm.
a little bit of just time or that kind of a thing is happening a lot here, just a lot more than usual. So anyway, it's understandable that,
Seems to be everywhere.
yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing a lot of the same as well, so.
It was just it's one thing to have a double digit, but this is a double
Double
digit.
digit. I know.
Yeah.
That's
And
what I
that-
said.
that
Do the
was
math, it's like,
A little bit
yikes,
breathtaking.
it's a lot of increase.
Right.
But being in the pool helped us.
It did help us, yeah, because we came out on the wrong end of things this year. So
Mhm.
it helped us, and that fluctuates back and forth. Can't change that.
All right. Any questions, comments?
We'll come back with every bit of information that we get as we motor
Right.
through this.
Okay. Well, thank you for your work
you,
and,
Mr. Chair.
and appreciate your report. So, all righty. Administrator report. Jeremy, go ahead.
A couple updates for the committee. As Ms. Naylor stated, we are going to continue to work on building out RFP packages for, insurance companies and other providers to agencies to give us proposals that we can continue to review. Obviously, this is going to be a big conversation as the budget year continues to move forward as we prepare for next year. Also, in the last couple of weeks, we recently submitted for a couple of grants and are in the process of submitting for a third. two of which were for our new highway facility project that we've been working on for years. One is for through the U.S. Department of Transportation with their build grant. We were able to apply for a $7.1 million grant for that. The other is through Congressman LaHood's office, again, through his community project funding in our third iteration. Talking to Congressman LaHood's DC office, we feel pretty confident that this will, it obviously has been put forth for the last 2 years by Congressman LaHood's office, but they do feel that will be a priority project for them. So we feel pretty confident with our path forward there. Again, though, I'm not going to hold my breath because we just never know how this is going to end. So the good thing is with build this year, typically they announce those awardees in the fall. They plan on doing it in June. And with community project funding, they plan on announcing those mid-year as well, as opposed to holding off on those. So we'll have some knowledge on if we will receive any of those awards sooner rather than later. That's good. For the third grant, Senator Duckworth's office did open their portal for their congressionally directed funding. We are going to apply for a generator project across the street at the new courts building. Obviously, this is a project that has come up in the past. Why this has been a little bit expedited is because over the weekend, they did power down the new courts building to upgrade a transformer to have better power across the street. During that time, our generator kicked on, and between IT and our facility staff, they were able to identify what that was powering, and it wasn't much. So we, in case of actual disaster or catastrophe, we need to make sure that we are able to at least generate enough power to operate our essential operations, specifically the health department and our emergency operating center, which currently would not happen. So working with the facilities committee on that to build out that grant proposal, and we'll have that done here in the next couple of weeks. So we're pretty excited about that as well. Other than that, we are preparing a notice for bid opportunity that will be for a project that we have across the street between the retaining wall that is in between the 911 center and the maintenance facility. So that should be going into the paper within the next day or two, and hopefully we'll have that project moving forward. So that has already been budgeted and allocated for in our capital budget by the board. So any comments or questions?
Any questions for Jeremy?
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate the update. There is no ARPA report, no Joseph E. Meyer resolutions. We did touch on the sheriff's report. Anything else you wanted to cover, Clay, on that?
Nope.
Once again, the first story was the lesson was, and as a former smoker, quit smoking. Just quit smoking. Jeez.
I have a question for the sheriff.
Yeah,
Sheriff's
Jason.
report. On the telecommunications division you're talking about, you've got the staffing level, you're authorized, but you're still short one?
I think we've got our hire, or no, we are short one because Kelly Boos just left and went to the city of Dixon as an administrative assistant. So we have to hire her replacement.
The replacement communicator's been hired, but they are going through field training, it says at your report.
Yeah, I don't think, Mel, that might be a mistake then.
Well, there was a retirement too that happened not all that long ago that I would imagine that.
I guess my bigger question is, are you fully staffed?
No,
No.
No,
he's not.
we're authorized for 10 telecommunicators.
I'm talking about your entire department, and I'm still new at this, so I'm still trying to understand kind of, you have 2 new patrolmen. Does
Right.
that get you to where you need to be with patrolmen?
That does, yes.
It does, okay.
But then we're losing a correctional deputy.
Got it. So you're one short there, really.
Yeah.
And in regard to the telecommunicator, Reed's right. We had a retiree that the department recently hired for. They are in training. We just lost another telecommunicator, so we will be down one that we're going to have to replace.
And the Sheriff, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, like the training and or kind of time it takes before a telecommunicator can basically operate on their own is like a year. So it, you know, they're
8-9 months.
you
at
can,
least.
you can be fully staffed in terms of people, but essentially that person is gonna have to work under
Shadow.
someone else, shadow, for an entire year before they can be on their own. So before they can operate at full staff.
Right.
Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the sheriff? All right, thanks, Clay. Appreciate it. Next thing on the agenda, we're down to unfinished business, elected official salary for next term. As directed by the committee, Jeremy and Susan and Charlie and I met, what was that, two weeks ago? And what you see before you is, and we took a look at this holistically and looked at comparables and kicked a lot of different things around. Kind of where we landed, and Jeremy and Charlie, if you want to chime in whenever, is we're looking at a 3% increase for this next term, or CPI, whichever is less. And you'll see the comparables that we have here. We also had some concepts that and the possibility of doing like a stipend or an increase based on your education that is relevant to the office that you're filling. And so we took a look at that and kicked that around a bit, and but we didn't make any recommendations on that as yet. So what you have in front of you is what we had discussed. So Jeremy, Charlie, anything you guys want to add, and then we'll let the committee have at it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, take this for note. This is, you know, committee, this is going to be the board's decision on whatever approach you guys do. You know, I think what Jim had said was that, you know, when we met, we brought in comps from all over the board. I mean, but it's very difficult to find, you know, specific comps that are really close to Lee County. We landed on Bureau, same size, very, very similar in operations. And you know, we have that in front of you. We're on par with them, a little bit lower. You know, we had talked about the need for making sure that the annual increases year over year were consistent with cost of living at minimum. And right now, and historically, they had not been. They were just at $2,000, right? So as we looked around, what other counties are doing and larger counties are doing is, you know, they have, instead of saying it's going to be this flat rate of 2,000, 1,000, whatever that may be, they had the language in the resolution that year over year increase is, as Mr. Sheelant said, you know, 3%, lesser of 3% or CPI. That gives the ability to continue to increase with at minimum cost of living. You know, I think that there is, you know, we're going to be running up to needing to pass a resolution next month for, you know, 2 of these elected offices. You know, I do believe in talking to, you know, Jim and Nancy and others of you that we probably need to have a deeper dive into compensation, you know, visioning for these 4 offices that we're talking about. We really need to look at what the offices do, the scope of work, and the operational impact, you know, that each of these offices do individually, and move forward in some capacity. I don't think we're prepared for that at this moment. I think that this might be a little bit of a longer time to really research this and do this right. You know, historically, I mean, again, before my time, these, you know, 3 of the offices have been at the same level and they just rise together, right? Is that the right path? I don't know. There are other counties that is not the case, where, you know, depending upon the operation of the office and the scope of work within those offices, those are different. You know, there are a lot of times the smaller counties like ourselves just keep them the same. Is that the path we want to go? I think that that's the path we need to go, at least in the short term. But I do believe that we need to take a much deeper look at this and sit down with each office individually and really work through this, because I think we need to make sure that everybody's getting a fair look at their compensation, what their offices do, and their expectations of the office. And that's something that we need to look into as we continue to move forward. But with what our small focus group came forth with is exactly what Mr. Sheehan said is, hey, we at least know that we need to make sure that the yearly increases are up to snuff. We haven't been there. So we needed, the recommendation from that group is, at minimum, that's what we need to do, is make that change. Now it's up to Finance Committee to make a recommendation and have more dialogue on if there is a need for anything else, those incentives or stipends, or I need to make any other adjustments from there. But that's what came from the group. And at this point, it's really up to you guys to have some dialogue about it openly and transparently and see where we go. But as I said, moving forward, I think it's going to be in our best interest to sit down with each of these elected officials and really have a deep discussion about what this looks like for the future.
And just so the committee knows, we did this, of course, before we heard from the insurance situation where we're having a 27% increase in health costs. So anyway, Tom's ready to go, I can tell.
Well, no, excuse me. I appreciate the work you guys did. The only question I have is, do we know from Bureau County what they plan to do for raises this year?
I do. And their raises are sub 3% and across the board. Year over year, honestly, their raises were, I think I had, this coming year was 2.67%. Previous year was 2.1. The other was 2, so they do not keep it consistent. They're a little bit all over the board, but they are, except for the coroner, are at the same level.
They're tied to the CPI?
She didn't necessarily state that they were tied to CPI, because their increases were not necessarily tied to CPI. It's just what I asked for from other county administrators was at least what they're doing currently, and if they've done any studies in the past. I know Henry County graciously sent me, as well as Kane, a handful of counties larger, but had done this research in the previous years and sent me kind of some framework of how they approach this. And it wasn't just hey, we got together and figured it out. It was a long-term study on how to change and make sure that they're compensating fairly for those specific elected
Are there
departments.
job descriptions for these positions?
Those job descriptions are elected official job descriptions that are tied to the department.
Right, but there's no scope of work that's defined
It is defined through statute.
through statutes. Okay, and that's a universal.
That's
across,
correct.
Everybody's.
That's right. Now,
Well,
other
having said
department-
that,
well, the
if that's
statute's,
where you're
the
going.
statute's universal. Can the offices themselves go above and beyond that statute? Most definitely, and a lot of them do. Case in point, I'm just going to talk about the treasurer's office because it's easy to say. 2 years or multiple years ago, when Paul Meyer came on board, they removed, the county removed some aspects of operations from other departments and absorbed that in the treasurer's office.
Right.
Well, now the county over, the last 4 years have continued to change the operational, structure of the county. We've hired a finance director. Some of those now duties had been shifted from the treasurer's office to the admin office. So yes, there are offices, elected official offices, that take on more than the statutory scope. Not all of them do, and every county is different.
Right.
So the counties that we looked at comparably for us, most of them, if any of them, do not have a finance director.
Right.
They have a treasurer that does that specifically, and that office does those things. We're a step ahead of the game. In other, counties, the clerk's office takes on a handful of the things that our treasurer office might have done in the past, or vice versa. the circuit clerk's office. It just really depends on the scope or the size of the county and the needs. But there is a minimum statutory obligation.
But you can add to the statutory obligation.
You can, in a lot of these, but that's in agreement with the elected officials themselves on taking on more of that scope. And a lot of them just do it, So
Right.
that's what I'm saying is, we owe it to Amy and Nancy and, Jesse and Paul to sit down with each of them individually and talk about really what our offices do and what the expectations are for them within the office, within the elected official office itself in that department, and talk about this moving forward, because it's, I think for the committee and for the board to understand that from an operational perspective is going to do us a lot of good in making sure that we're compensating fairly in the future.
So I know that the county had not had an HR department for a long time, and
Right.
now we do. Are there performance standards that are being created for these positions?
So yes, I'm going to say from a department head standpoint, yes. Now, you got to remember the expectation from an elected official department head to an appointed department head is different. I can't have really any control over what, Amy or Charlie do. What we have control over is the budget from an elected official standpoint. The great thing is we have a phenomenal culture here where all of our department heads, whether elected or appointed, work together very well. And are coming on board with, the operational expectations that we have specifically with, let's just say HR. And it's been, I think, a good thing for everybody here, whether it's an appointed department or an elected department. But there's nuances there that's not typical in the private sector that we really have to work with. And again, I feel like Lee County is very fortunate to have the people we do have because they do a phenomenal job with working.
Well, and I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. What I do know from my almost 40 years in experience in the private sector is that there's different levels of performance. And if you want to, and we were just talking about this, about the idea of maintaining good help, maintaining people who are well qualified, hiring and attracting the kind of skills and talents that you want to be able to run a very efficient unit. This is in the case of unit of government,
Right.
That there should be some sense of what performance standards are and what's minimal standards.
Yeah.
And even though the electeds they report to the voter, they don't report to you or us directly in that sense. But is it possible, are other counties, does anybody have performance standards for elected officials?
I can't answer that. I will tell you that we've created performance standards and evaluations that we've worked with our department heads, elected, non-elected, as well as staff that we've continued to engage with. Now, I can't ask Charlie, hey, let me in HR, Susan, sit down and give you a performance evaluation. That's doesn't work that way. Now, I can do that for Reed. I can do that for Jen Boyd, but that's the nuance of government, specifically county government. We're not the city of Dixon, where they have a managerial form of government where he has that ability, Danny, city manager, authority over all of the department heads. This is different. We do not. So that's the thing that, we, again, walk a fine line there, but we are fortunate as a county and a county board to have the people we do have in place because they do work with us very well. And, I hope to keep it that way.
And my thoughts are not necessarily about today. It's
Right.
about down the road.
The future, sure.
And having, because we don't control who gets elected to office.
That's right.
If someone gets elected that's really totally incompetent, can't do much about that, right? It's the way it is.
Yeah, that's true, but that's also why we've started to take steps to make sure that if, God forbid, something like that did happen, which I think we have, competent people in Lee County, like in the treasurer's office, we did make that adjustment because let's say we have a treasurer that is elected that doesn't have the financial background to actually run the finances of the county. We now have that secured. You know, are there other opportunities for that? Maybe. I think
Well,
some of
and
those are going to
then-
be a little
then-
bit more difficult.
And one of the concepts and I give Charlie credit with the idea was in this regard, and this is an easy one, because in the finance area, I mean, it's, okay, you have an accounting degree, you have a finance degree, you have background in finance. Okay, so do you put in to an incentive there of people that have that background to run for that office?
Yes.
You know, so we kick that around. But then how does that transfer? I mean, like I said, treasurer's office is easy, and that's part of going back and having the conversation, because you're exactly right, Jason. It isn't about the folks that are filling these offices today. It's trying to look forward and making sure that we're positioned, the county's positioned to attract the people that we want to run for those offices. And so that's part of having the deep dive with Nancy and Amy and Jess to have those conversations.
And when somebody gets newly elected to the treasurer's office, when Paul's done, and if they don't perform well, you know, if we're basically providing some, you use the word stipend for the exceptional skills, abilities, and experiences of the prior person, but now the next person doesn't have that, will we have the flexibility to not have to continue some sort of a stipend? Would we have statutorily, would we have the right to do that?
We
Yeah,
control the
because the board sets the salary and sets the budget.
Okay, that's,
By
okay.
controlling the budget, I mean, that was one of the first things I learned in at UCCI meeting, my first board member, is it was a local county that said they had a treasurer who was giving bonuses to their employees for the extra money and so forth. And that was their solution, is you are in charge of the budget. Just correct it that way. So that's a powerful tool.
Reed, any thoughts? I'm gonna go around the table, just so you know. So you're just up next. Jason got on, but that's okay. It's fully expected, so. What?
You had both reads right to respond.
No, I don't have too much other than, I think we use the CPI as a guideline, but also there's certain things that come into effect, like what's been happening in the Middle East over the last 2 weeks. Is that going to continue for the next 2 weeks or the next 2 years, And that all plays into immediate cost of living, So I don't know. I just filled up my diesel pickup and it cost me $100 here.
Right.
So instead of $75. So.
Right.
So anyway, that's what's current events sometimes change things quicker than what CPI does, So anyway, we just gotta, but at the same point, you gotta have something to go by, and CPI is about as good as it gets for an average period. So anyway, no real major proclamation there, just my thought.
Appreciate it, Reed. Thomas?
I'm good. Just taking all this in.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Well, I just, want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to give their thoughts and because, and remember, I want to reiterate, we're not talking about individuals that are serving today. This is looking
No, I
toward the
mean,
future and
one of the
positioning
biggest
us.
things I think
Correct.
is, one of the best points is, we now have an HR department, never had one. I mean, so there's a lot of things that we're molding the clay in our county, and as you do that, things are going to change and responsibilities are going to change and expectations are going to change. So where we're at in that process is, it's a work in progress, and it's not a perfect science, and not everyone's going to be happy, and that's just the way the world works.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have to do what we feel is best for the county as a board member, and keep massaging the clay and making things better until our terms are up. And that's the way I look at it.
Yep, very good. Jason?
You mentioned that's an interesting concept. You mentioned bonuses. Is it such to where you could pass a budget in every department that there would be a certain amount of dollars that you could set aside for bonuses for exceptional performers that could be a part of the budget that the department heads themselves can divvy out and at their discretion. Because, and again, I understand government and private sector, and Tom and I are real big private sector guys, so is Reed, big private sector people, right? You really, really want to have a structure that you can award performance, because going forward, as we've talked about earlier, adding technology and all the investments in technology, there needs to be some sort of sense of rate of return on the investment. Hiring people and paying them $75,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year, which will eventually these positions will end up being paid. There needs to be some sense or some, not some sense, but some way in which to measure the experience, the education and so forth with the salary. In government, I know that typically hasn't been done, but it sounds to me that Lee County's breaking the mold, doing things differently. You know, having a county administrator, having an HR department, having a finance director, all very positive things that I'm sure we could quantify as saying those are good things to do. The cost of doing it is returned a great return. Just going ahead, going forward, looking at the cost of insurance, looking at the cost of living, looking at the cost of fuel. There's gonna be a need, as difficult as it is, and of course in the private sector we do this all the time, to look really at our head count. The head count cannot stay the same. The head count needs to be, as we introduce new technology, as we introduce people with greater experience, greater knowledge, greater abilities, we need to think about that, because that's just reality, unfortunately. And so it's just the idea of not today, but we have to deal with today. I get that. We're gonna have to pass a budget for 2027, but the idea is looking really ahead.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Nancy?
The thoughts that come to my mind, first of all, I also come from the private sector, so I have that same philosophy and understanding of that. I do think that we need to establish a group of people to really research this going forward. I think, to Tom's point, this is about tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, not necessarily about today. And, you know, the unfortunate thing is that these are elected officials, so the public elects popular people, not necessarily qualified people. So if we can build that into the situation somewhere, I think that's, and I believe that we all learned that from watching Springfield and Washington, D.C., that not necessarily everyone is qualified, and the same thing. So I just think that it's something, it's not about today. You're right. We have to, we have to go forward. But I think that we could maybe do a better job of being constantly on the move to find different changes, as Tom just commented, by getting a group of people that are from both sides, government sector, public sector, and kind of going through it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be done overnight, but I think that's something that this board should do. Thanks.
Okay. Mike, Dean, any thoughts, comments? Mike, we need you in the mic.
I'm agreeing with a lot of the conversation that's going on. I think most everybody, I know Nancy probably is, and chairman and state attorney, there is a Senate bill that's in discussion right now. And I was going to give that for the report for finance. It's strongly opposed by the IACBM, primarily for the financial cost involved. And there's some language that's spelling out there which different office is going to receive what and from where. And we're talking around 80% on some of them. And then there's another group of offices that are explained that the people under those office descriptions are going to receive a stipend of $12,800. So I'm wondering how much effect that between our decisions here at county level is going to compare to what's in this Senate bill. So they're kind of watching that, but the Illinois Association of County Board Members unanimously oppose it at this point. So I'm flexible. I deserve that. I just don't mean to deserve. I agree with Nancy's comment. I feel that there has to be an improvement logically and financially capable of being handled. We got a lot of great department heads.
We do. Dean?
I agree with everything that's been said here, basically. I mean, you don't want to rush in and give one person a huge raise for whatever reason, and then you try to make it up to other three people, other however many people. I mean, this is a gradual that I think you really need to look at down the road, how you're going to approach this, you know, without jumping in and doing something huge right this minute just to get it done. I think that would be a mistake. And I mean, I'm not pushing it off 5 years from now, but I mean, we really need to look at the situation first before we make a big jump like that.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to open it up, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but we have multiple department heads sitting here. I'm not going to call on you, but if they're, you know, you guys, this is part and parcel of us being able to give us information. You guys have any thoughts that you'd like to share? I knew Stacy. I was late at bets.
I'm just glad to see that there is attention and there's discussion to this matter. It's always a contentious issue, no matter how it's discussed or when it's discussed, because it affects people personally. You have people that work for the county, and not everybody looks at their job as being most important, but there are a lot of people that their job is their livelihood, and how they perform it is extremely important to them. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, that when we are talking about job performance and salary, those are issues that are very close to somebody's heart and somebody's mind. So I would just ask you to be very considerate of that going forward. But I sincerely appreciate the fact that you have the attention for this discussion. It is something that needs to take place, and it has for many years. So thank you for doing that.
Sure. Thanks, Stacy.
Stacy said it very well. And I know times are tough, and you got a pile of money and you guys make that decision, but it is something that needs attention and probably maybe a little bit more looked into. I know a lot of times when I'm comparing counties, we do compare to Bureau, but there are a lot of differences with Bureau too as well in all departments. And that's a statewide thing. Every county is different. Every county does things different. Their pay is different. Their employees are different, but you know, I'm just gonna, like Stacy said, we take it to heart what we do. And I love my job. You know, there's days, we always have days, and I count on my employees and they do a great job. And so same thing, kind of like union negotiations, we have to go through that when there's wages. And at the end of the day, it's up to you guys, your decision. So I appreciate you discussing this matter.
This raised a good, because I'm a newbie. How are the wages? Are there performance reviews in the departments, and or how does that work as far as your staff goes?
My office, yes, I am actually getting ready to do those now in the next month or two, but we do them yearly.
Okay, but there's no compensation tied to the review.
No. They're in a union contract.
They're in the union contract, so their wages are all set by contract. What about the non-union employees?
So over here, so they wouldn't have anything to do with that, but our non-union employees do, you know, we worked with the department heads over the last year and a half really to create, as I said earlier, the performance evaluation structure with Susan and the department heads to bring that into play. And our other non-elected offices are expected to give performance reviews to our employees that are non-union employees moving forward. And that has already been set in stone. So we're working through that change right now in that transition. with that, Jason, we had made a move. I mean, over the last couple of years, Lee County has done a very good job, I believe, to make sure that we're trying to be a competitive employer. We've made some adjustments to salaries over the years, union and non-union, to make sure that we're trying to give everybody the compensation they deserve to the best of our ability. I think we've done a great job with that. In that, we have shifted to this last year going to a merit-based raise structure with the non-union employees based on performance evaluations is kind of what you were talking about. Hey, how do we incentivize better performance? We're working through that process. It's not a flick of a switch. But we've done with everybody here, with Reed, with Susan, a very good job at breaking wages down, figuring out gaps in salaries in hourlies, and making sure that we're getting everybody closer. Because it was all over the board. I mean, year over year, you saw, well, the county was just giving what the union was giving. Well, that might make sense because it keeps everybody just, hey, we get all the same and it all works and it feels good. But there was also a creation of some pretty significant wage gaps between some union offices and some non-union offices. It was a little bit all over the board. We're trying to correct that.
And that takes time.
And that takes time while incentivizing performance, as you stated earlier. So yes, we have a performance evaluation in place, a procedure in place. We're working with the non-union offices to do that. And we're building that structure as we speak. Union offices are fully guided and governed by their union contracts. So it's just different.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But one thing I want to say is it's so good that that the county board decided to go to an administrative position like yours, because those types of inequities need to be corrected over time, and they won't be done unless you have a full-time administrator that really does that. So it works towards those objectives. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody. This has been a team effort between finance, and all other board members. I mean, Reed and Susan are phenomenal, and as you said, we have a great admin team now, we have great department heads and we have great staff. And as I said, I think we're very fortunate to have the people we have from the administrative and board side. Again, I just want to reiterate, we are trying to do everything we can to make sure that we are a good employer, that we have good, fair wages, and we're continuing to build that. We want people here, right? We want to keep people here. Our goal is, I mean, it doesn't help any of the offices, whether it's elected or appointed, to just, have turnover constantly. That takes a lot of time. It's a waste of resources and money. So I think we've done a great effort, and to progressing ourselves in that direction. There's more work to do.
Yeah. Well, Tom just said HR. Having HR is a game changer. Creating the kind of correction of inequities and managing it going forward. So I don't know who made the decision to get a full-time HR person, but that was a really good decision.
Nancy?
I think I just want to go after what Stacy said. I think it is very important for the county board to dig deeper into my position, Amy's position, the treasurer's position, to actually see what we do on a daily basis. I have 7 employees. Amy has 10 full-time. Again, they are union, but we also have to deal with those people that are underneath us. And I know I'm speaking on about myself, and Amy said the same thing, is we really, really do enjoy our job. And, just to look at that number and say, here, we're just going to throw that CPI at you. I mean, I just think you need to just to go a little bit deeper into that. And we all are here, and I can't tell you how many times I hear from other counties that they tell you that you are an elected official and you do not have to come to work every day. And I tell them I love my job and I want to be here to make sure my office is running well, plus, be there for my employees. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
have to be, you don't have to come to work if you're an elected official?
No. No.
No, once you're
No.
elected.
Yeah, but
Nothing else on that one.
that's the way it's always been.
And what about elected officials? Vacation, they can take as much vacation time as they want,
Sure.
take as many sick days as they want. There's no governance of that.
Every 4 years.
Yeah, the governance is at
Yeah.
voting.
So, as well, we talk about being part of the private sector, that's part of the reality differences between the private sector and government service when it comes to elected officials, because, the people elect it and, now Clay can do whatever. If the department falls apart, Nancy, department falls apart, they answer to the voter. And there's consequences. So the reality is, yes, they can do what they want, but they got to make sure if they want to continue in that position.
Does that not also amplify the reason to have the conversation we're having about compensating based on performance to some degree?
That's right.
Whatever statutorily we can, because you really want to incentivize those that are showing up every day and obviously working hard and putting in the time versus somebody who wouldn't. So there's
That's
got to
right.
be some way in which for us to have some control. Well, to your point, it's the budget. But then you want to hurt the whole rest of the department because you got an incompetent person in charge.
Right.
Wow, that's a revelation to me.
Thomas.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I apologize, I wasn't here last month when this started, but what is our goal today? Just conversation? Are we trying to plan something for the budget? Are we trying to do something sooner? What's our?
So what we do have a timeline that we're up against. We have to have if we are going to make a change the two elected officials that are up for reelection this year, we have until May to make that change. So we've, the point was to have the discussion today. We have the recommendation of the 3,000 or CPI. We could let you guys think about this over the next month, but next month, if we're going to do something, we'd have to have the resolution put into place for consideration next month. So that's where we're at. But what's in front of you is 3% or CPI. Now, if there's a movement about that you want to see, that's totally up to you guys. So
What is the CPI?
Actually 3%. It was 2.9%. We're adjusting it to 3,
Okay.
which again, for consideration, if the board decided to not make any adjustments, it would stay with the standard $2,000 increase at right now with the 3%, that's $2,250. Not saying it's significant, but that at least at minimum compounds year over year, so the increase is bigger, right? Instead of staying at a flat 2,000, which is historically what it's been. What came out of the focus group was just at minimum, we know that change has to happen. We need to have more discussions. The board needs to have more discussions about other changes because we do know that has to happen as well.
Well, Nancy brought up an interesting idea. For us to get a full understanding of what each of these department heads or electeds have to do, maybe they should put together a package of information of what the scope of what their work is. Maybe what it was from the time they started this position to what it is now, and whatever they think they could do going forward to add more value to what their office is doing. If that information was made available, then at least, and I don't know, I think Tom made the point, this time-wise, this is going to be really impossible, I think, to meet. But to get an understanding of the scope of work that is actually involved, I think would be helpful for us to know, so we'd be in a better position to understand whether these wages are reasonable.
So the question I have then, is that something you want to have done immediately? Or is that something we do something now and then this is a work in progress that we go through for, as we go on? Thoughts?
I just think, the focus group needs to stay together and continue to move forward on figuring out a recommendation to come back to the finance committee with, I think.
Okay, you want,
But if time becomes of the essence, we at least need to do this. But but we need to come up with something for the elected officials that's a base, and then somehow let the creative juices kind of start working for a way to compensate that can come and go as the elected officials come and go. Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay. Tom? You would,
no, I think, we got to put more work. We're, in the past, we've been very reactive and not proactive. And to me, this feels extreme. I mean, time is of the essence here. Let's push. We got to come in with an educated decision and go to the full board so we can present what we plan on doing and without bias. I just think we need to, like Reed said, put the focus group together and come in with better alternatives and, proactive is great. Reactive to me is horrible. I mean, I don't want to just do it just because, we got May 1st and time. I mean, we only have so much time as a board. We're only here so many days of the week. So there's a lot of work to be done on this. Another thing, like with what Jason said, having more employees when we do all software upgrades and we do all this stuff, what Jason's, from what I'm understanding is there's got to be a cost savings somewhere. And adding staff is not cost savings. Adding software and adding people is not cost savings. Cost savings is where's the benefit from the software we're putting in? What does it do for our labor? We're not trying to eliminate people, but we're not going to try to hire 25 more people in the next 10 years either, unless our county grows where the income comes in. Because once again, and I've been beating this horse for a while, is we've got a lot of infrastructure issues and we've been taking care of a lot of it. We're about halfway through our needs for the county. We have a responsibility to maintain our buildings. We have not. We are. But we have got a lot of money. I've been telling you that for a long time, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And you make the comment almost every meeting that I'm coming after all the money. It's not me. It's because we're reactive and not proactive. So we're doing a lot of great things with the facilities group, and Eric's doing, and Jeremy are doing a great job of, we're forecasting stuff and forecasting where money goes, because we have responsibilities and it's going to come in the form of rain coming through the roof, in the form of buildings falling apart, condemned buildings that need to be taken down, county garages that are absolutely embarrassing to have our guys in, and we're working towards those things. So there's a lot of stuff to take into consideration here. And now we're in a short period of time that we're going to throw money at this. I think we need to take a deeper dive and we need to come up with a good solution as a group for this. That's just my opinion.
Tom, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. From just a practical standpoint, under this form of government we're under with an administrator, does the administrator work closely enough with each of the department heads that he could have some significant feedback on if we should have some kind of performance standards? Is the position of administrator the one to give the primary input? Where would that come from?
I mean, I'm going to kind of look over at Charlie here.
This is a tough question.
The
It is
administrator
a tough
does not have the authority to give performance evaluations to the elected officials. I don't have that authority.
Right.
And I would not feel comfortable doing that. That is outside of my authoritative scope. Charlie, I would love for you to jump in to give your 2 cents.
I mean, to answer your question, yes, Jeremy specifically is spending enough time with department heads that he understands what we're doing. He understands how effective the departments are, and he works with all the employees too, specifically to Jeremy. Any administrator, I don't know that I'd say that. I mean, Wendy was great at it too. We've had administrators that can do these things, but he's right. You can't sit down with Sheriff and I and say, hey, here's your performance review and here's the things that we think you need to work on. Because first of all, while he does have a good relationship with us, while he does understand what our department is working on, he has no idea what the sheriff is doing on a daily basis. He has no idea what the sheriff responsibilities are because there's just so many. I don't have any idea of all the responsibilities that he's dealing with on a day-to-day basis because he has so many different moving parts there. Just like my office, while everybody believes that we're working just specifically on criminal cases that are coming through, there's so much more than that. There's civil cases that we're working on too on behalf of the county. There's giving advice to department heads that are here as well. And when we talk about focus groups that have to come along with deciding these 4 elected officials and what they should be making, I'm there for legal. That's it. I'm not there to give them advice as to what they should be paying them for because they're my clients. It's inappropriate for me to be talking about what they should be making and where they should go from there.
Understood.
So it's a lot of weird inner workings that can't specifically be just Jeremy coming and saying this person's been doing such job and he's been doing such a good job doing this, because you can't be everywhere all at once. I hope that kind of gives you a little insight.
It does. And I know that there's there's firewalls here that are there for whatever reason, but the idea.
And also, I'm sorry, I'm not to interrupt, but also like sheriff and my salary is set by statute, like we
Yes.
talked about before.
Right.
So really you have no
Well,
say.
I
there.
guess I'm thinking in terms of if there was a budget such to where bonuses could be paid to anybody that works in the county, and the county board had the leverage or had the, or each, well, in the case of Jeremy, let's just say him in case and point, that if a bonus would want to be paid, you do it based on some, not just perception, but some facts. And it comes down to, I would understand, Jeremy can't do performance reviews, but he could certainly give the county board, the finance committee or whatever, some great input about some great, wonderful things that are going on in the clerk's office. And they put this software in place and they quantifiably saved $150,000 a year. And, or the treasurer's office did an investment that suddenly gave, the county now has $500,000 more in the treasury. If there's things that can be quantifiable and you say, gosh, that's great to know. How would we otherwise know that if somebody didn't tell us?
And from my standpoint, I'm going to encourage you not to go down this bonus route just because it just opens up a door that is just so dangerous. I mean, just as a case point, it's a very dramatic example. What if a bonus was hinged on my performance and how many people I was incarcerating? I mean, it's just, what are you going to quantify that as? It's just my thought.
Okay.
I agree. So that was the challenge, one of the things, that we talked about was the stipend or the addition to a salary in the case of education. So that's something that's completely objective.
Yeah.
You either have it or you don't. It's not a subjective measurement that but then again, there's part, okay, so I'll use Nancy and Amy. Do you put that incentive of being have some type of public administration credential? Okay, what is that going to be? What is that going to look like? Is that a seminar that somebody goes to get that, or do you need the full blown master's degree, or whatever? Those are even that part of it that you're trying to make objective can get subjective pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's just a challenge that we have to work through. So that is, so I challenge for our committee purposes right now, and I agree with exactly what you said, Tom. Thing of it is, we are up against May, and we got to do something, make a decision for the 2 folks that are up for reelection right now. And what I'm hearing is what you want us to do is going to take a lot more time than what we have. So I'm just putting that out there. I think what we need to do is circle back. I think Jeremy and, we can come and see if there's anything else we want to tweak in regards to the recommendation we have there, come back next month. If it very well may be that we don't change anything because it is going to take more time than what we have. And we move forward with this for these 2 folks, but the cycles move. And so we do have time to continue the conversation and do the deeper dive that we want to do. Is that fair? Committee okay with that?
Makes sense.
Okay, all right, very good. That's how we'll move forward then. And thank you all for, very good conversation with everybody here. Really appreciate it. Okay, and of course, my screen went dead. Oh, I've got it. And I don't think we have. Yeah, and we don't have is there any other new business to come before the committee? Hearing none. There is no executive session. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Wilson is always there and Ms. Naylor, and all those in favor signify by